you very much for taking part in today's debate, and thank you for agreeing for this exclusive interview with IQ. It was a great pleasure listening to you talk today, and there are a lot of ideas that you shared, and a lot of interesting and thought-provoking points that were raised. One of the issues that you talked about was that the government today has a lot of people who are very similar and with very similar backgrounds. You yourself, though, share a very similar background with many of the government's leaders. You were in the civil service, you rose to the highest ranks of the civil service, and were a scholar who received education overseas. How do you feel that despite having this very similar background, would you behave or act in a manner very different from today's MPs who also came through the civil service?
Sure. Well, first I'm going to say when I was in the civil service, not many people know this, but I graduated in music at Cambridge. So, and then I became a diplomat with the MFA. And that itself was a big, huge learning experience. Went on to Home Affairs. And till today, we don't have a civil servant, and I say a civil servant from MFA, that has gone forward into politics in Singapore. So I think I've had the opportunity to be a little bit of a different civil servant when I was in. But I think the real more important part was when I left the service and went private sector. I moved to Hong Kong with an NGO, and I headed up an NGO for 5 years, working in the Sichuan mountains with rural health and public health care with poor people, and that completely changed my idea of what government and the country was all about. From there, and that was within China, I also lived in Hong Kong enough to see a very different society in Hong Kong, right? And how they understood democracy, how they understood the country. I set up my own business strategy consulting company after that, and went through the financial crisis, went through times where we didn't have a single project for 6 months and there was no money to pay my staff, and having to build it up again. And I'm back because of aging parents and building up a foundation to help the needy in Singapore. So I would say that the years that I've left the government service till now have been hugely enriching, and it's helped me realize that there's so many other perspectives, so many other mental models to what it was when I was in the civil service. Now, I'm going to admit that the civil service today would probably have developed and changed a lot since I left, and I respect that. But I still also believe that there are various different diverse mental models and ideas that can come together, and Parliament is an excellent place for that to happen, not just to represent different people group, but also to represent different perspectives on a national issue and to co-create solutions together. So that's what I believe in.
Well, that was a very detailed answer, Ben. I was hoping for a shorter answer. My arm started to hurt. But I just wanted to touch a little bit on that point. The PAP government, even in the recent announcement of candidates for this general election, have named a lot of senior civil servants. Do you think that the government should still tap on the top ranks of the civil service for political leadership?
Well, the simple answer is no. I don't think the PAP, which is the current ruling government, should continue to draw on civil servants and military and the forces for leadership. It doesn't mean that you don't. I think that they do bring value, but then it doesn't mean that you keep on doing that as well. I salute the ruling party for bringing in some people from the private sector, from the banks, for example, from the business world, and we'd love to see more of that. But I'd also say that many of these exist outside of the establishment circles, and we want to bring those in to complement the views and the thinking process that goes into policy formulation. I will add one more thing, though, that at the end of the day, it's not about whether you're a civil servant or whether you're a military. At the end of the day, it's about, do you understand the issues on the ground? Have you walked the ground? Have you heard the concerns of the resident? And when I say heard, I mean, what are the residents concerned about day to day, where it matters, where all big lofty ideas of national security and international relations and all that needs to be set aside, not cast away, but set aside, and then we come down to the level where our people are at and say, I hear you, and this is what we're going to do. We're not going to tell you and explain to you why our policy is good, but we're going to take that voice into Parliament and voice that, so that the people in power, the collective leadership, hears that here is a group of people on the ground that have got these issues and concerns. I think that really is what distinguishes a politician from a technocrat in policy making.
Well, Ben, to end it off, I'm going to ask you a couple of simple questions. You mentioned quite a bit of your grassroots work during the debate, and I also know you have a foundation. So I wanted to know, what do you think, and what do you think the ground thinks on two issues? equal benefits for single mothers, and the repeal of Section 377A?
I think the issue about equal benefits for single mothers is a very complex one. Single mothers go across the entire socioeconomic divide. You've got single mothers who are on the upper strata of society who may be single because of a divorce or a variety of other reasons. But you've also got single mothers who are 16-year-old girls who have had a kid because of a wrong decision, and they're right at the bottom of the economy. They don't have the education that can sustain them, and so we cannot have one single answer for single mothers in terms of equal opportunity or equal benefits. I think we need to look at that and say, what are the issues surrounding the single mother? What's the community that is around that? And what is the solution at that level? Just yesterday was talking to a single mother who is 28 years old. She's a minority, and she's got 4 kids. And what she's done is she's been able to create and set up her own little business to run an income for herself, and she's now training 2 other younger single mothers under her to stand on their own 2 feet. Now that's the kind of stuff that we want to see and encourage, and not give a handout, give a subsidy, and then they come back and ask for the next handout and the next subsidy, and you don't ever get a sustainable solution.
Ben, maybe to delve a bit deeper into that question, married mothers are given equal benefits in terms of maternity leave, in terms of child benefits, in terms of the baby bonus. Do you think that this should be extended equally to all single mothers, regardless of income scales?
Okay, so the reason why I deflected that question is because that's too simplistic an answer. If you're asking me, should baby bonus be given to single mothers just as they're given to mothers who are in a marriage, the answer is yes. But just giving equal benefits across mothers who are in a marriage and mothers who are not doesn't solve the issue of single mothers. That's not the issue of single mothers. So the question then is, what is the issue around single mothers that needs to be addressed, and not wave this big flag of equal opportunities, equal benefits, and then say, if we get a decision on that, yay, we solve the issue of single mothers. That's not the way you do policy formulation, and that's not the way you solve problems in society.
And how about 377A?
377A is again a very, very complex issue. How we see it on our side is that there is a distinction between what is and should be regulated within the sphere of the private, within the sphere of a community, within the sphere of a family, and what is to be regulated under a criminal penal code at a national level. And issues that are dealt with at a criminal penal code level needs to be something that is fair and applicable across everybody. So the question around 377A, I think, is not about whether you repeal it or you don't repeal it. The question around 377A is, does it need to be rewritten? Does it need to be revised where it applies? If it's going to apply and stand, it should apply to men and women. If it's not going to apply at all, then it should not apply to men or women. The issues are around how do we see legislative restrictions and limitations on private choices, but at the same time to also say that if a community is not ready for it, can that community also regulate itself and deal with this issue, where the state steps out of what could be a very private decision amongst 2 people. So that's our position on 377A.